Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Kayak Bass Nation is presented by Dugout Bait and Tackle. Go to dugoutfishing.com to find everything you need for your next kayak bass fishing tournament.
Hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego.
Also sponsored by Revo Sunglasses. Go to revo.com, use code KBN25 to save 25% off your next order. Revo, best lenses on earth. Also sponsored by Western Sun Vodka. Go to westernsundistillery.com and use the bottle finder to find a bottle near you.
Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Welcome to another KBN Live. We got a great show for you tonight. We've got Mr. Lambert on location once again down at the beach, Panama City.
Yeah.
How you doing tonight, man?
Always on location. I'm out here, bud. I'm out here,
You're out here? Did you spend the day on the beach?
dude.
Feeling it?
I don't know. It's got to be this. It's got to be this camera. There's no way I'm this red all the time, huh?
I don't know. Every
Maybe
time you
I
come
am.
on here, you look like you just did some wild. You're coming off the lake, coming off the beach, whatever. I even see your pool wristband. You could have gone poolside with this. That'd have been legit.
This is Save JT, son.
Oh.
That's a life membership. That ain't no pool wristband. Come on,
My bad. I'm tripping. Man.
that's for the squad.
Yeah. Well, you guys probably saw we've got a huge show for tonight. We've got Armando from Bass Kayaks and Beers, and we got the world famous or infamous Luke Dunkin from Low
He's gonna
Budget
fit
Live.
right in here.
Yeah, low Budget Live over on YouTube, and you know Luke's got a great show over there. We're so glad he's taking the time to join us here and talk a little bit about podcasts and what we do and the impact on our sport. If you guys saw, we're doing a giveaway tonight. It's Throwing Shades Tuesday, I guess, instead of Monday.
Tuesday.
We bumped it. We bumped it. As people may or may not know, I'm a basketball head at heart. It's my first love. I'd still play if I could physically do it all the time. So we had to bump it one night so we could watch the game last night. It ended up being a great game. But
That was a really good game, man. I was very disappointed by the ending, but that was a good game.
yeah, pulling for Carolina, but oh well. But we're doing the Revo giveaway tonight. So any pair of shades off the Revo website, all you got to do is like this stream, share it, and go over and like the Revo page, and we'll pick somebody. After the show's over, I'll go find them and post them on the group page and get a winner. Everybody that's got them so far has just been thrilled. I'm sure, Ryan, you've been wearing yours down there on the beach.
Man, I put them on 3 or 4 people down here at the beach. Had them try them out, trying to get some new users on board.
Yeah, and if you don't win, use that code KBN25 and you can save a few dollars over there. Of course, Western Sun Vodka, we appreciate their support of the show always. A drink of choice for KBNers all over the place. And then Dugout Bait and Tackle. See, my hat's kind of out of the picture, but yours isn't. Dugout Bait and Tackle, dugoutfishing.com. Go down there and get the hookup, as it is full-blown tournament season right now.
It is, man. We're wide dick open out here.
Wide dick open.
We got some new things coming at the Dugout, too. We got a new product release. It's probably going to happen next week, so keep your eyes peeled. This should be a disruptor of sorts, I would think.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see it. So over the weekend, we had some events go down. The Cali event, you may know more details than me, but they had their Big Bass Splash, whatever they call it, but it's the no-limit tournament the Natives putting on with hourly prizes and then overall Big Bass winner, basically like an MLF/Big Bass style event. What happened out there?
Well, I thought Greg Blanchard won it, so I hit him up to come on the podcast, and then he texted me today and he's like, well, turns out I didn't win it. He's like, I swapped places with second. So anyway, we're gonna get the new winner on next week. We're gonna get Adam Bomba on, who's one of our throwback boys from the original Ship House. He had the biggest bass of the event, but the way this works is you get an hourly big bass payout, an overall big bass prize, and then it's a tournament in itself also. So we'll have them back on to kind of explain some of that, what we got going on now. But apparently Greg didn't get his fish submitted by, and this is where the discrepancy is it 3 o'clock, like 3:00:00, or is it 3 o'clock and then 59 seconds after? That was the part that wasn't, I guess, laid out up front in the rules. And it's not in several series. I mean, we know Hobie it is, and AJ talks about in every single captain's meeting. You have the entire minute up until 3:01 to submit your fish, but heads up to TDs out there. If you don't clarify that, you'll run into things like this to where it's a question mark and you didn't really say it beforehand. So, who's in the right, who's in the wrong. It's kind of a toss up.
Yeah, that's wild there. I'm surprised they didn't just let this be a lesson for them and let Greg hold on to that title since it wasn't clearly spelled out, but whatever.
Yep.
It is what it is. I'm sure Greg he's had his fair share of winning. He'll probably step up and win the next one that comes that way. So
I mean, Greg doesn't seem to have a problem winning. So
yeah, Greg's all right. He's doing all right.
Greg's all right.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Georgia Bass Nation had an event over the weekend. Joseph Gayton. Is it Gayton or Gayton?
Joseph G-Man. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. He wreaks havoc on the Georgia folks down there. He pulled it off at Hartwell. Got on some good ones.
And then the folks went down to. I want to get on this. I'm not going to do it, Ryan. I'm going to maintain my composure. But folks went to Caddo for the KBFers. They had their event down there, and they're 4-for-1. It's like a 4-for-1 sale.
That's right. That's right.
And nobody down there, I am going to say it, knows how to do math. Nobody knows how many people were in each event, for God's sakes.
But you can't look at it and tell, because I tried to look at it myself. I know you were complaining about it, and I went and looked, and I was like, well, shit, it looks like there's 70 people in this one or 51. Like, you can't tell. I don't understand it.
Yeah, but regardless of that, Cody Milton, well done. Got
Josh Stewart, day one, Cody Milton, day two, and the Pro Tour, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me.
And they even have, like, the Powerball bonus whatever pay down there. So somebody won. I don't know who won that, but well done to all the winners down there. Cody, you won the 2-day event, so I'll give you the most credit. 2-day event, Cody, you the man.
For sure. So no, that's a good fishery. He had a damn good limit on it. So hats off. Yeah. Hats off to Cody.
Yeah, man. Nothing else to get to. Get in here and
let's get to these guests.
Get these guests in here, man. Let me get the background changed around. They've been patiently waiting.
Move some bottles around back there. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Boom, boom. There they are.
Hey, Luke. All right.
Luke Dunkin, Armando. Welcome to the show, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Have you ever been on a kayak podcast, Mr. Dunkin?
I haven't. This is and I want to say just right out of the jump, you had Fat Cat Newton on before you asked me, and I'm kind of offended by it. But so
Fat Cat Newton engages the community with memes of him killing people in a bass boat. So that really put him on my radar. I was like, this guy is coming on the show.
He really pokes the bear in the kayak.
I like old Fat Cat. He's a pretty solid dude.
He's hard to beat.
He's not even a fat cat anymore. It's really disappointing me, man. I saw him at the Classic. I was like, man, you ain't even a fat cat. This is
medium cat.
Change his name.
Medium cat now.
He's calling himself Thick Cat, but I'm going with Skinny Cat.
Yeah, he's looking real skinny on that one.
Lost a lot of weight, man. Proud of him.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is awesome. Armando, you're one of my favorite people I've ever interviewed with, and I want you to know that up front. That podcast
really?
I did, yeah, hell yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's your accent. Like, I'm pretty sure you could say anything in the world, and it's going to sound a lot cooler just because you have an accent. So, I don't want to give that too much credit, but seriously, that was one of the better podcasts I've ever been on.
That's something
Hats
you
off
have
to
in common
you.
with my wife now.
Great. I hope there's many more things.
Not too many, though. Not too many.
Never mind.
Anyway. No.
All right, I'm leaving. We'll see you guys.
We're done. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, very nice.
I told you this would be bad, Luke. My bad.
So
It'd be fun. I'm having a great time.
Yeah, this was actually Ryan's idea to have fellow podcasters on and talk about podcasts. So here we are tonight talking about, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but just the place and the role that we play as podcasters. You know, Ryan and I started our deal really just to have fun with it, and here we are a couple years later still doing it. I don't know why Armando started his, but we can start with Luke. Luke, how did you get into this to begin with on the bass boat side of things and start podcasting and turn into what you've made yours over there?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I've been such a podcast fan for a long time, just like you guys. You travel around. I'm a music nut. I like to listen to music, but I got into podcasts several years ago, and not a ton of fishing podcasts in that time frame, like when I first started listening to podcasts, and now there's a lot of them. And I know you guys know that there's a new one every week, I feel like, but I listen to the Ike Live guys a lot, but then I mix in, the Joe Rogans of the world and Theo Vaughn's and a lot of comedians that I like have podcasts. And so I would listen to them. I thought, man, this would be cool just to kind of hit record, say what I think, talk about my life a little bit, interview friends of mine that are leaving tournaments or what have you. So that's kind of how it started. And the low budget live idea, we used to do it on Instagram, and I'm a cheapskate, and everybody knows that. That's around me very much. And dude, I played music for years, so I had music equipment. So I'm like, well, hell, I've already got some equipment. I figure out how to turn this into something I can record with. So I took music equipment and figured out how to run it through my iPhone to record, to broadcast on Instagram Live. So for like a year and a half, we did podcasts that there's no record of. Like some of the best LBLs I ever did, nobody will ever know. But I had Roland Martin, Jimmy Houston, and Bill Dance all in a booth at a Tracker Boats dealer meeting for like 2 hours one time. I have a screenshot of them sitting next to me on my phone. That's it. It went away in 24 hours. We were doing all this work and carrying around this equipment. So I eventually, decided I better buy a computer. But that's kind of how it started, man. It was just fun. And then I tried to be more consistent with it over time. And as it, you start looking, you're like, damn, people are actually sort of paying attention. So
it's crazy.
From there, man, this August will be 5 years, man. It's crazy.
Time flies.
It does.
Armando, what about yours? Don't tell me it's just because you like bass kayaks and beer, and that's the name. That's why you did it.
Well, that's how the name came up. But honestly, I've never even knew the podcast was a thing. But when I started coming home from work, my wife, who loves like true crime and all those things, murder relaxes her, right? So she loves to listen to those podcasts of wives who kill their husbands, got away with them, and all that. So
be careful, Armando.
I'm from that point on, I learned to be a good husband. But no, she started listening to podcasts. I would listen, like, what are you listening to? What's it called, the podcast, whatever. So I was like, man, I wonder if there's fishing podcasts out there. And sure enough, I think the first one that I listened to was Cast and Crank. A good podcast, but wasn't what I'm looking for. So I was looking to see if I found something, related to kayak fishing. And I found KBN, I found Paddle and Fin. And then I got the idea of like, man, if I can just, by listening to you guys and listening to Paddle and Fin, I got the idea, man, I could learn a lot more from kayak fishing if I can get the guys who know most about it come and talk to me about it, right? I don't have friends around me that do kayak fishing. Like when I started, I was just learning by myself and watching Fluke Master on YouTube. So I got
that probably took a lot longer.
Come on, man, that's my hero. But
Encyclopedia Britannica could have helped you.
My boy.
So I started. So I put it out there in social media, but I got nervous about my accent. So I really appreciate Lunch Money, Ryan, saying about my accent.
I love it. You can get away with a lot more shit than I can, man. People are gonna be like, "Oh, he's crazy. Look, that dude's crazy, man."
Stay away from my house, Armando. I don't need my wife hearing that accent.
Mine might be watching this, so calm down.
Oh no, he should do cameos.
Jeez.
So anyways, I was really conscious about it, but I put it in social media to kind of pressure myself. And sure enough, Josh Smith sends me a message, and I've never talked to Josh Smith before. And there's this guy just cursing at me, sliding into my DMs, cursing at me, calling me a whole bunch of names, telling me I should get this started. So I was like, okay,
the best kind of encouragement that there is.
Like my dad here. I'm like, okay, Dad, I'll do this. So I started doing it, and ever since then, it was just, I had 2 shows. One was just kind of talk about life, because I love, I wanted to do something different, something, how kayak fishing, plays a role in your life. And then I thought of the idea, well, how about something about learning to kayak fishing? And that was honestly so I can get all these quote unquote hammers to actually spill the beans on how to be good at it. I didn't care if nobody listened to it. I just wanted to hear
You
them
scheming son of a
firsthand.
gun.
Yeah, I want to listen to them, and I'll put it out there. If somebody listens to it, then that's fine. But if not, I'm getting the knowledge, and that's all I care about at that time. But man, it's a year later. I moved with Paddle and Fin. Brian Schiller got a hold of me through social media and asked me if I wanted to join Paddle and Fin. I figured, sure, why not? Makes it easier on me to get some of this, again, quote unquote hammers to come to my show. Then nobody knew me. So it was hard to get the Russ Snyders, Cody Miltons, Guillermo Gonzalez to come to my podcast because obviously they're so busy fishing tournaments. So I figured, well, it's a good chance to, if I'm on Paddle and Fin, then it'll give me, a little bit more of oh, okay, yeah, sure, we'll come to your podcast.
Yeah, you guys got a huge network of shows over there now. I mean, there's so many different podcasts going on within the Paddle and Fin network. And somebody put in the comments about Josh Smith. The Dark Waters podcast, Luke, if you never heard of that, that's a kayak fishing podcast over there. Josh Smith is a unique individual. He is hilarious. He does a great show, but he stopped doing it. And he is now teaching people how to be ninjas up there in upstate New York somewhere. So, but I wish he'd come back. Maybe he will someday.
He's a loose cannon. The guy is. He likes the happy grass. He likes to relax and have a good time. He's probably one of the funniest guests we've ever had on this show because you never knew what was about to come out of his mouth, and it was always something way over the line. He did great at that part. Yeah, for sure.
That was my favorite KBN episode. That interview with Josh Smith. I've listened to it a couple of times. Yeah, that was awesome.
My man, he's something else. He'll be back. He'll be back in his own due time.
How did you get started in the? So tell us about. You have a real career, Luke. You fish a little bit, on the side as well. How did you get started? And tell us what you do right now. You actually have a role in the industry, unlike many of us.
Yeah. So at 22 years old, man, I started working for TH Marine. I've been there ever since. So going on 17 years now, and I've worn a lot of different hats there, but mainly been in sales. Started with them as a kid, like an intern deal. Met a couple of the guys that worked there fishing the Bassmaster Opens when, this is before college fishing was a thing and all that. I was just trying to mix it up in as many tournaments as I could from like 19 to 21, 22 years old. And I met these guys and they actually offered me an internship when I was like 20 or 21. I turned it down. I was like, man, I'm going to catch enough bass forever. I'm never going to need a damn job.
That's what everybody thinks.
And exactly. And then at like 22, I'm graduating college and went to the University of North Alabama. And my dad's like, so how are you going to pay for, shelter and food in your life? Because you're not doing that bass fishing. So I went to work for those guys, and it's crazy, man. I got in sales, and I actually stopped fishing big tournaments for years and years and years. And everybody sees the TH now, which is they sponsor a lot of anglers, and you think about, all the products they make, which are like with Gerald Swindle, like the G-Force trolling motor line and different things, Atlas jack plate. We had none of that when I started. They were like 80% OEM boat builder. And through some of my relationships and product development, they kind of got into the tournament scene. They didn't even sponsor anybody. They had no pro staff whatsoever. And in 2000, I started in 05. So in 2013, they started sponsoring the FLW tour and some BFLs and things. And so I was able to kind of get back involved through tournament fishing, running their pro staff and doing some of that. And then in 2015, had the opportunity to fish the FLW tour as a co-angler, and then ended up making the jump over to the front of the boat there in 16. But it's crazy, man. It's been, a long road, but still day job. I call on boat builders. Every bass boat manufacturer in the United States, with the exception of Camus and Falcon, are my customers for TH, and some other, pontoon stuff. I've called on some kayak builders over time, but mainly just bass boat guys now. So yeah, wear that hat for sure. That's the thing nobody thinks. That takes up about 90% of my days,
Yeah, one thing's got to pay the bills. Like you can mess around, but you got to have money to blow somewhere if you're in the bass fishing game.
That's exactly right. You're going to make $1 million, you better have two, right?
Doing this, and that's the way it seems. I don't know many people that are just putting A and B together on the deal.
That's right. Very few.
So, talking about podcast night, I wanted to get into a little bit. Ryan and I are known to have an opinion or two on our podcast. I know Luke has his, and I've listened to enough of Armando's shows to know that he throws his opinion around as well. Maybe a little more professionally than we do, but he still throws it around. What do you guys think about the position or the role? All podcasts. What bass fishing podcast? What part play?
Filtered if you want it to be, right? Like it depends on the kind of show you do. There are a lot of them out there. Some of them are cookie cutter that kind of do the interview thing and don't voice their opinion. I'm never going to be that, right?
Same.
And look, I've said it forever. If I say something that I ended up getting proved wrong on down the road, I have no problem coming on the next week and being like, hey, look, my bad on that. I talked to so-and-so, whatever. But I tend to shoot from the hip. But I think it's very important in this day and time. We see it with like mainstream media and different things. Like everybody's got an agenda, right? So I think it's very cool that I can go to Armando and hear exactly what he thinks. I can go to you guys and hear exactly what you think. And then I can form my own opinion about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing. And our sport is so small in the grand scheme of things. It's a niche deal. And I do think it's neat that you can bounce around, man. If you don't like what I got to say about it, go listen to you guys. Go listen to, Matt at Bass Talk Live. Come back and go, well, Luke said that. You can compare and contrast and form your own opinion, man. But I think it's very important.
What's funny is, now it used to be if you listen to Luke Dunkin, Low Budget Live, or you listen to KBN or whatever, you knew what they said. But if you didn't, outside of that, you had no idea what the heck was going on in these podcasts. But now they're taking sound bites from Luke Dunkin or Ryan Lambert or Armando, and they're putting them, and they're going viral on their own. Like, did you hear what he said over there?
There's people with brooms out here sweeping shit up, Jeff. They're sending it to sponsors and all kinds of. You got to watch this, don't you, Armando? He knows. Armando knows.
I like those arguments about it. No,
Yeah.
and I've had arguments about it because there's always that opinion. Well, KBN, and I was like, dude, you have to separate what the KBN group, somebody in the KBN group says to what Jeff Malott or Ryan says. You got to listen, you got to pay attention. You can't just go by the clips. And I think Luke hit the nail on the head. As for me, I'm just, I'm a few years younger than you guys when it comes to podcasts. So I'm still, I think, in that point, we're finding my voice. But what I've learned is that your listeners appreciate where you stand on things. And I think where I draw the line, I'm never going to cast shadow over somebody's character. Unless you're cheating on a tournament. And it's like facts. You're cheating on a tournament.
Cast it
I have
all
no
over
problems
them.
calling you out. I don't have no problem calling you out on that. But when it comes to opinions, what Bassmaster Kayak Series is doing, what, Hobie BOS is doing, what this person did, what other persons did. I like to, before I go, on a show, I like to cross-reference my opinion. Because first of all, there's a responsibility. And for me, it's not about me. My name is not on my podcast. It's about the community and building the community to where, tournaments could be, the Christine Fishers, Russ Snyder's, Guillermo Gonzalez, the ones that are doing the tournaments can actually make a living out of it. If I can promote the sport and it can grow to where that is, then if I did my little grain of sand here to help this go, where it needs to go, then I'm going to do it. And oftentimes I'll call Jeff or text Jeff or even you, Ryan, and I'll ask you, what do you think about this before I go on air? Because like Luke says, you don't want to say something and find out you were completely wrong and having to apologize about it.
Well, I've never been wrong, Armando, ever.
Well, that's a good way to put it, right?
I mean, that's the life, man. I've never been wrong. Not one damn time.
But I think, it's important to voice your opinion. Like, something that I've learned from listening to KBN and Ryan, you mentioned it. You can't always pat somebody on the back and say you're doing a good job if you're not. Sometimes you have to give the hard truth. And you say, this sucks. This needs to get better. Now, I'm not gonna get as far as calling people names and all that, and I know you guys don't, but there's a point where you have to say,
We
this
don't?
is not cutting it.
We call each other names, but not strangers. No, I agree. I mean, I think the things that need to be said, like it can't just all be sunshine and rainbows, but it's how you deliver that criticism, right? Are you being derogatory about it, or is this something constructive and you're like, hey, this is a weak point, let's try to do better, or I'm kind of disappointed that this happened. Like, you can say things like that and not just completely come out and shit on a person or an organization. Like, I think we can all improve. We can improve sitting here. We got DMs today saying Jeff needs to invest in a $10,000 audio mixer board so people are more equal volume on our podcast.
Look,
like,
Ryan,
there's always ways to improve.
I just got a ring light. What else do the people want? I mean, for God's sake.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm out here.
You're here for the looks, Jeff. Just don't worry about it.
Wouldn't it be fair to say then? I mean, because like I said before, everybody, not as many people listen to these podcasts. That between the podcasts as a whole, I guess all of them, we brought a little accountability to the sport. Maybe. I mean, people don't hear their name brought up.
That's what I was going to say. I think that for me, and I think I've shed some light on things that maybe fans didn't realize. And you won't believe the guys that I've got that are out there doing it for a living, whether it's Bassmaster Elite Series, Bass Pro Tour, or whatever, on the bass boat side of things, that text me behind the scenes. They're like, hey, dude, thank you so much for bringing that up. It's almost like you become the voice of that, because we live in this weird industry where if you speak up, you get blackballed.
Oh, yeah.
More
We're
times
here,
than
bud.
not. It's all got to be PC, right? Like, you can't be like, hey, this sponsor I have, they suck. You can't say that. Like, you can never say that because you're just done. Then no other sponsor wants to tell. Like, we live in a very weird, you have to be, even if you're a shithead. Can I say that on KBN?
Please.
You can say anything here, literally. Yeah.
Hell
Proceed.
yeah.
Proceed.
So if you're a shithead behind the scenes, as long as you're Johnny on the spot on camera, the industry loves you. And there are lots of shitheads in this industry, but you can't speak up. It's very bizarre. So I feel like at some point, like you guys, I became a mouthpiece to kind of bring attention to things that people don't talk about.
So we actually got blackballed before we started this podcast. So we started this Facebook group and it grew, and we were like, hey, we should do a podcast. Just stupid. We didn't have any clue what we were doing, like with cell phones propped up on, Kleenex boxes and whatnot is how we got rolling. And now it's developed into this thing to where people put pressure on us, like we're supposed to now care what we say. And I'm like, how did this start? Like, why do we care now? Like, this is silly, But I mean, I get it. There is some sort of responsibility, but I think there is a place for that kind of honesty. And I want your opinion on this subject later, but we shared something about some pro anglers not getting paid by sponsors for 4 months the other day. And all these dudes are running out, waving the flags like, you're wrong. There's no way this company would not pay someone. Like, it happens probably more often than anyone would like to know, but you have to hold these people responsible too. You don't have time to wait 3 years in court for a decision to come down to pay off, your truck or your house or whatever you got going on. I mean, these pro anglers, like, the fastest way to get some results is throw something on social media and watch a few 10, 100,000 consumers get it in their face. And then they're like, uh-oh, okay, all right. Oh, I found your check. It was laying over here the whole time.
Yeah, the checkbooks and the pins get to going immediately when that happens.
It's tricky.
Ryan, it's funny.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, Luke bringing up people texting him and calling him, sending a message to try to bring up certain topics. I don't know about Ryan. I'm sure he has. I'm joking. We both have gotten tons of messages to do the exact same thing. We have a pretty large Facebook group and forum, and we literally joke and call it the KBN Department of Justice because people want us to bring up things in front of all those people. Yeah, and those people that want us to bring them up may be the same people that were disgusted by our group just 6 months ago when they need help. When they need help, by God, they're right there.
But it works. I mean, how many times have we brought up like non-payment issues by tournament trails and then magically they're paid like 4 days later? I mean, you can look at it however you want to, but we're putting money in your pocket out here, folks.
I had, this is so funny you bring this up. I had somebody call me tonight that I would consider not a friend. Okay, I'm just going to say that. And I've had a very public run-in with these people, and at one point in time, and they called me to try to get me to talk about some of their dirty business on my podcast to bring attention to it. I'm like, wait a second, I'm out. So when I said this on my show, you didn't like it and really had a lot to say about it. But now I really kind of took pride in it. I'm not gonna lie. It was a very odd moment in life, but it's that way. It's like you said 6 months ago, you hated my guts. Now you're like, hey, Luke, you got time for a call? How's LBL doing, bud?
It's a slippery slope out here. I'll say that.
It's tricky when you're outspoken, though, man. Everybody wants to talk through you because people are scared to, say it from their face most of the time, right?
Hey,
I really think they are.
Mark Edwards says it was Boy Duckett. Is there any truth to this?
Listen, if there's one thing I can just tell you that to my dying day will never happen. Boyd Duckett will never call me and ask me to do anything. Okay,
don't say Boyd's name out loud. That's what I've learned.
Weed eat for him, or I don't know.
We kind of tread lightly on that because one of our good friends, Jay Wallen, is a big proponent of his rods. So we try to say that.
Listen,
he loves Jay's favorite thing are the quick detach guides that they come with. I don't know how they engineered that, but Jay loves them. White ice is his go-to.
Listen, it is they're very convenient when you like to scar your lineup.
It's tricky, man. Sometimes you're having a great tournament and you're like, what could ruin this? Prink!
What could cost me money?
Oh, yeah. I got that. What kind of rods you throwing, Armando? What kind of hat you got on there, pal?
Douglas, man. They're a sponsor of mine. They're the only sponsor I got. Douglas rods. I love those rods.
So we hung out with the Douglas dudes at the Classic, and that's why I brought that up, because we had such a freaking good time with those guys. They were with us every single night, just having a blast. I really like where that company is trying to take things on the bass fishing side. They had a great reputation doing two-piece rods and fly fishing rods and whatnot, and they're bringing that over to the bass side. So there's your free plug, Armando. Take that.
There you go.
Hey, I bought one of them hoodies from you, Armando. It's my favorite hoodie now, especially with that built-in face mask thing. One of those Douglas hoodies.
I wanted to mention something. A lot of times people say, well, why don't, when we talk about, blasting somebody or just giving our opinions, people say, well, why don't you take it up with them? You can email certain company or organization, tell them, hey, you know what I don't like about this? Usually just goes on the trash bin. Let's be honest with you. It's not until it goes out public they're like, oh yeah, we'll address this. Things get fixed. Now, obviously, there's a line between trashing them and, and just giving a criticism of what should be better. You want things to get fixed for the community to grow, not necessarily just to blast them just to get that clickbait out of it. But that's the truth of it. Sometimes, sending a message to your email saying, this needs to get better is not good enough.
The thing that killed me I'll go ahead and throw it out there, the Burge and Cole situation, the thing that killed me was people automatically assumed that was their first line of action. They took to social media first. These are professionals. They do this shit for a living. They have companies that literally represent them to line up sponsors. They think that that's the first thing that they did. Obviously there's been a timeline that's taken place here. And if you get ignored by, accounts receivable for so long, you have to make some other move. I mean, you can't just sit there with your hands in your pockets and essentially keep fishing for free for the whole season. I don't think that's right for the anglers and, for the community or the sport or whatever. If somebody signs a contract with you and says they're going to give you X amount of money, then they better pay it, and they better pay it on time every time. That's how business works. Fishing doesn't change the fact that it's still business.
For some reason, a lot of sponsors think that it does, though, right? It's bizarre. It really is. And it's not something that gets talked about a lot, but damn, man, if you do your job, you get paid every 2 weeks or every week or however. But man, in fishing, it's like, hey, man, we're a little behind. We're like, wait a second, you're a $10 million blah, blah, blah company. You can't pay me my measly whatever you owe me. It's crazy. But you hear it all the time. I still
yeah.
have sponsors, former sponsors that owe me money from like 5 years ago. It's like it's just a wash at some point. You're like,
We got
whatever.
tournament trails out here that still owe people money and product. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a cold world out in the fishing side.
I think Ryan's still waiting on an APR rod from like 2016, aren't you, Ryan?
3.
3 rods. Okay, yeah.
Who's counting? I don't know.
But who's counting? Yeah. You know,
That's one of my favorite things of how Armando phrases things is he doesn't like to bring up the controversial shit. He'll ask like 2 leading questions that lead you to address the controversial shit. That was one of my favorite things about being on his podcast. He wouldn't come out and say it. He would just drop breadcrumbs and make me say it.
I can tell Armando is very dangerous. He's trying to set me up for trouble tonight. I can tell. I don't know Armando that well, but I feel like he's like, yeah, this Dunkin guy likes to run his mouth. I'm gonna put him out there.
You bait him a little bit.
Your podcast is one of my favorite podcasts. I'm a low lifer for myself.
Thank you, dude.
Low lifer. LBL.
No,
that's the only place he fishes on Kentucky Lake. He goes straight to LBL. He don't care about nothing else.
I'll be honest, Ryan, when you're coming up, I did my homework. I'm like, let me make sure I do my homework here and do my, bullet points. Make sure
you had plenty on that one, bud. I'm sorry for that.
Well, you better do your homework, but we asked the hard-hitting questions around here, Armando. You better do your research.
Hard-hitting questions.
Ryan didn't tell me there was going to be homework.
Yeah.
No, there's not for you, bud. You just fire at will. That's the only reason you're here.
Let me ask you this, Luke, because we hear this on our side of things, the kayak fishing side of things, which is really, we like to think of it as this. It's a booming sport. It's a growing side of the sport, but it's still a niche of a niche of a niche, pretty much. I mean, it's down the list of bass fishing notoriety. But to us, it's everything. And people within the sport bang the drum about drama in the sport and people doing this and organizations arguing with each other, and they act like that's unique to our little niche of the sport.
Yeah.
And could you please explain to these people that it is not?
No, definitely not.
That is not.
I think it's the entire industry, man. It's a big ball
Yeah.
of drama more times
Yeah.
than not. There's always it's like a country song. Who's cheating who? Who's being true? Right? It's insane, man. Especially like on the the Bassmaster Major League Fishing side of things. But for the last 3 years, it's just always something. It's just like, and you got everybody's like, we're packing up and going to MLF, and then like several guys are like, we're going back over there.
I just unpacked. Let's go.
Yeah, it's just crazy, and they're like, we've got the World Championship of Bass. No, we've got the World Championship. Wait a second, we're having an expo. No, we're having an expo. And then Johnny Morris is like, I'm having an expo. It's all within 3 weeks of each other. It's bizarre. So no, it's not just in the kayak world, but I will say that I think you guys don't give yourselves enough credit a lot of times, because I know you said it's a niche of a niche of a niche, but like from an industry perspective, and I'm talking about like boating industry, the kayak world in general is the fastest growing market, period, end of story, for the last 5 years, man. And it's making, to me, it creates more anglers on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, because I mean, let's just be honest, bass boats, $80,000 to $100,000. You can get you a couple rod and reels, get you a kayak, and you can go fishing. You can learn to love the sport. And now with so many kayak tournaments, if you want to be competitive, you can go do that too. Like I think it's freaking awesome, man.
The tricky part is where I think where it's taken companies a while to see is the ROI part, because they don't understand, like, while the kayak side, as far as like media exposure and whatnot, like, it's not on TV. There's not this big, live app that you're following for all these tournaments necessarily as a spectator. They don't get that there are that many new anglers that are coming in on the kayak side, and bait companies are starting to realize that. And I talked to Byron at Missile quite a bit, off the clock and bullshit around. He's like, we didn't really know, if it was something to jump all in on or whatever. We just did that Z-Man shoot, on Santee a couple weeks ago, and they're like, yeah, we're all in on it now. Now it's taken it's taken 4 or 5 years of growth and showing them like, hey, this is how many people are actually paying attention to this stuff. You can post a kayak pic and they'll get, 6 or 8,000 likes on it or whatever, impressions.
Sure.
I mean, they're seeing the eyes that are on the sport right now, and I think that's probably the most important part for all of us, because I mean, obviously everybody wants to see it grow, but the more it grows, the more money's in our pocket, the bigger the purses are, the more the media coverage is, the bigger the sponsor dollars are. So I think it is a slow process, but you were at the Classic, you see how many booths have kayaks in them, or there's how many kayak booths, or how many
with
anglers are
podcasts.
working the booths. Like
Yeah.
you can't ignore it anymore. Like you can't just pretend like it's going to go away next year. It's not.
Yeah, it's. I mean, TH Marine just bought Yak Gear. That's
I
a new.
saw that.
Yeah, they just bought them. I mean, they're just all these companies are trying to get more and more into it, man. And I think that it's something. I'll be honest. Like I told Christine this, I want to do it. Like I would like to have a setup and get out there, dude. It's daunting to me. Like I listen to you guys. I watched a lot of y'all's YouTube stuff, and I'm like, I don't even understand how you approach a tournament in a kayak. Really, like it's
Slowly.
so intriguing. I know, but it's so intriguing to me.
Let me tell you how you do it, Luke. Let me tell you the biggest key is you make a circle and you only stick. No, I'm just.
No, hell no. No.
You make a circle with all your buddies at night, and then no, that's not good either. Then you all share all your information in the middle of the circle. No. What do you think, Armando? What are your thoughts on that?
What was the question again?
Exactly. That's what
like,
I thought.
Do
I was
you
just-
like being in a circle with your friends the night?
Do you like the circles of information? No, the growth of the sport, as far as like the industry goes, like where do you feel like we're at on the totem pole as far as recognition and, I don't want to say reward, but I do at the same time. Like, where do you think we are, and where do you think we're heading?
It's definitely growing by leaps and bounds, like Luke mentioned. It is, it's hard to put a timetable on what's next with the kayak fishing or kayak bass fishing in general, because it's moving so fast. Even when the pandemic started, I remember my listeners went down to like less than half. And I remember talking to Josh Smith. I'm like, what's going on? Does nobody like my podcast? It's like, no, it's just that people are not going to work right now. People are not driving. So he kind of explained it to me because I was about to give up. Like, well, nobody's listening to it. Why the heck am I doing this? But what happened was a lot of people got out there on the water, and you couldn't find a kayak. I mean, I had to wait 3 months for my first Outback in the middle of a pandemic, because they were even back ordered. Like the next order was already sold out. They actually sold me the demo. They rented me the demo or leased me the demo for 1 month. So, and then in September they officially sold it to me because I couldn't find one. To get my Hobie PA, I had to drive all the way 5 hours to get to Arkansas. This is Jeff
You
over
drove
there,
to Arkansas for anything? Jeez,
Hey now,
man, come on.
Look at that boat behind Mr. Duncan. Now that came straight out of Arkansas, Ryan's favorite state to come fishing in.
Man, whatever.
So that shows you how big it's growing. And it's definitely growing. It's definitely gotten more popular. And I mean, I think the sky's the limit. Is it going to be as big as the boat series? Maybe not, as far as tournament goes, but the popularity can even be bigger. But it's like Luke said, it's more affordable than having, especially with gas prices, than having a boat.
I think that part is going to be one of the bigger limiting factors because, like Luke pointed out, if you buy a tricked out bass boat rig, you're dropping $80,000, right? So these companies are seeing, a $40,000, $35,000 profit margin roll in the door on the kayak side. If you go out and buy a $5,000 kayak, they're seeing a $1,500 profit margin roll in the door. Like it's scaled way down, so we're not going to see those investments from these huge companies coming in, especially because we're not having to buy a $30,000 motor to hang off the back of it. So, I mean, I think that will be our biggest problem. I think we're going to have to go a lot more non-endemic type stuff, as far as just eyes on products type deal instead of what you're actually utilizing on the water.
Ryan, you said it before, man. How does the media coverage grow? Because is the juice worth the squeeze for anybody to start investing in live cameras and all that kind of stuff? Because participation on our side is not going to be a problem, but like you said, driving up sponsor money and the investment in different kinds of equipment to cover it may not be worth it to some of these companies, at least not in the near future. I don't know. So whoever's going to be the first to jump off and do it, we'll see.
Well, I mean, how much did Luke on the bass boat side? How much did live coverage in the boats? How much did that elevate sponsor interest? Like, obviously, that's direct exposure. You're guaranteed, even if your angler can't fish for shit, you're going to get him on TV at some point. Like, you're going to get your product out there.
You're going to get the boats. You're going to get the logos, the carpet logos and things that guys sell now, the jerseys, the baits. You're going to get it out there. But I mean, I can't believe nobody's doing the live thing in the kayak world. Like, that's the biggest miss to me. Oh, I get
bills, y'all. That's the problem.
You know, we're in year 2 with this MPFL thing, Fat Cat and I, and working with those folks. And listen, live coverage is not cheap, man. I sit in a lot of those meetings. Like, it is very, very, very expensive. But I just think it would be so interesting to follow along.
I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, but you know, signal boosters on a live GoPro is pretty much the only real answer that we have right now. I mean, there's not enough people unless it's somebody super small to put in their kayak with you. they could film the whole time, which I would love to have. I'd love to have them like on a swivel off to the side. You know, like that would be great.
I just all the retired horse jockeys.
A little sidecar, I like it.
Yeah, what do the jockeys do when they retire, Ryan? They could bring them
I don't know.
Oakland.
He's just right here. Hey,
Yes, I would love
You're
that.
doing great, bud.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Talk to TH Marine about getting yak gear to make a large platform to hang off the side, and we can put some small folks on there.
I'm going to call first thing in the morning.
All right. I know Bill is. Yeah, I know Bill pretty well. Is he involved still at all, or is he Bragman, the yak gear owner before? Is he out?
Bill Huntley was the original founder of TH Marine. To be honest, like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's probably just sitting.
I saw Bill's post. I think Bill took the check and got the hell out of there. Is what it looked like.
He's down in PCB with you, right?
Yeah, he probably is. He's down at Sharky's waiting on me. I'll see him later
with 2 pina coladas. I need I need somebody to buy me out. If anybody, I'm for sale, guys.
We're actually trying to sell this podcast right now. If anybody wants to throw in a couple bucks on that,
2 for 1 deal. You can have another bass fishing one as well.
Yeah, how dare you? Any questions in the chat you want us to answer? I want to go back. There was a few that kind of flew by and I didn't get. Garrett Morgan had one. He played college football and played against North Alabama. He said they had actual lions in the end zone. Luke, is that true?
They do. Yeah, they have a huge. Yeah, they have live lions on campus in this gigantic habitat. It's really cool. But yeah, they have the lions there every game.
Insane.
How it's football, I don't know, but it's pretty cool.
Here's
is
this question.
Legal still?
I don't. Yeah. It's North Alabama, dude. I'm not sure.
I reckon, man. I didn't realize Joe Exotic was that close.
Yeah, it's their version of the Tiger King down there.
It is. They got it.
So Garrett asked what your take is on the future of the co-angler division with forward-facing sonar being such a push now. Could they come jump in a kayak rather than sit behind those guys and watch them stare at a screen?
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating. You know, I think about it every time I go to chasing one around in circles and I got a guy behind me for sure. I think
man, he's screwed.
Man, wow, bud, you should have brought your boat. Because this is going to suck looking at the back of my head as I get ready to go to the chiropractor from staring at the damn thing forever. No, I think that that's going to depend on the angler, right? The co-angler. Some co's are just out there to compete. Most are out there to learn. So if you're there to learn, if you get paired up with a guy like a John Sokup that fishes MPFL and the Bassmaster Opens that's absolutely dialed with his live scope, you're going to want to sit there and watch what he's doing and ask questions and whatever, you know. And a lot of guys are really good about letting their co's or marshals get up there and actually see what's going on, you know. So I think it just depends. Now, I think we put a lot of weight in forward-facing sonar, and obviously we see it at the pro level a lot, like it is dominating. But there's a lot of other things still going on, and not everybody's locked into that deal. You got 200 boats in a Bassmaster Open with co-anglers. Same thing in the Toyotas, 300 boats. Not everybody's doing that. So I don't think it's going to run a lot of people off necessarily.
And you fish as a co-angler. If you're on a boat with somebody that is skipping jigs under docks, your ass ain't getting a cast anyway. He's got you dropped off, dropped off the grass line over there on the backside. You don't even get to look at those dock posts.
This me right here.
Dragging a shaky, dragging a shaky head. That's what I would do, man. Hell,
you can't
staying alive.
You never do what your boater does, anyways. In a co,
you can't.
situation.
Yeah,
you should not, unless they're just cracking them every cast, and it's like an open grass flat where you can throw the exact same thing. It's the number one thing I tell people that reach out to me about being a successful co-angler or whatever. They're like, "Hey, man, you got any tips?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever that guy's doing, just do the opposite." I don't, even if he's catching 25 pounds, just do the opposite, because he's fishing for different fish than you are all day long. Now, with the live scope thing, though, a guy gets you out in the middle of 80 feet of water, and that's a little different.
That's way worse.
You should bring a sandwich.
Yeah, you got a drop shot. Shot 25 feet off the bottom. Just drag it, man.
You just hope.
Right, we got another question.
Have you switched over forward facing yet, Armando?
No, not yet. Hopefully this year, but not yet.
Do you have a lot of experience with it? Have you played with it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I haven't even seen one.
You got well. Once you see one, you'll have to buy one. That's the tricky part about it. Once you see those fish come up eating the bait, then you're like, okay, all right, it's worth it. Yeah. Here's my kidney.
Another question for Luke from Frank. He says, "How's the MPFL, and why?" I think he meant what. What does the future look like for them? I know last year there was a little snafu at the end with the championship, but everybody seemed to jump back on board. A lot of the anglers. So how's it going so far this year?
We lost a couple guys, but I refer to it as our great fumble at the end of the year, because man, we had momentum. Everything was really good, and we went from on a Wednesday the week before the championship planning the dinner to Friday. Hey man, by the way, not having the championship. So it was
what happened with that? By the way, I mean, I saw it because I live in Chattanooga area. Yeah. But I mean, what went down there?
It was just a financial thing, man. I think that there was some misunderstanding, mismanagement, so to speak, of what was actually going on. And it was just, times got tough. And the crazy thing is, none of us knew it. I mean, other than maybe the owners, but like, dude, we left the last tournament out there at Grand Lake. We're high-fiving like, oh my God, we not only pulled this off for one tournament, we pulled it off for 6. Everybody's great. We're headed to the championship. And dude, it was like, honestly, and the owners are great friends of mine. I consider them like family. And they'll tell you, I mean, dude, I've never felt like I had the rug pulled out from under me more than in that couple-week time period, because it was like, where is this coming from? But we've got they got a new investor right when all that happened. And, man, I mean, I've seen things on paper. They've got like a 6-year plan. So I think you can look forward to, it continuing to grow. We're fishing 123 anglers out of 125, more than we had last year. So even with the fumble, and I feel like, and I don't mean any offense to anybody with this, we've got a better quality field this year than we did last year. We lost some guys that were kind of new to tournament fishing, just to be honest. We had 50 or 60 just absolute hammers in the crew, and then we had some guys that were kind of newbies. But this year you got Patrick Walters and Brad Knight, Jason Williamson, some of these guys that have done it for a long time have joined us. A lot of our old guys returned, from year one, and the interest for next year. I think if we can keep it on the rails, keep it on the track, man, I really do. I think it's got a place. That's what I say all the time. Like, you look at the Toyota series, it was just at Dale Hall. They had 320 something freaking boats.
Good Lord, son.
We fished 220 at Cherokee in the Bass Open with 150 on the damn waiting list. Like, it's insane, man. So to think that MPFL with 125 max, that's all they want, with live coverage, with great payout, I mean, I just don't see where it doesn't have a place. But like you guys said with the kayak thing, the frustrating thing for us is zero industry support. We have none. Like, that's just being honest. And I've talked about it on the show, but the industry, like, we don't have service crews to work on the guy. Like, do you realize how many Mercury motors are in that out of 125? And dude, they ain't even gonna have that conversation.
And is it because they're so tied to the bass and the MLF stuff that
sure.
they're
That's a lot of
so financially invested in that?
And they're spread thin, right? There are a lot of events that they cover. They're all covering Toyotas. They're covered. So on that front, no knock, but it's strange, man, because even after the year we had with the fumble at the end, I still thought there was a lot. I really thought sponsors would be knocking on the door industry wise.
It's probably a catch-22 though. Like the upside to you guys is there's not a like political divide affiliation going on. The downside is there's not a political divide affiliation going on, so you don't have this like cult following already in place. That's pitchforks and torches.
That's right.
They're the version of the All American Series we have. People that's trying to get, you know what I mean? And I'm not throwing shade at the All American Series.
That's a great example, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not throwing shade at them. They're doing a great job with All American Series, but they're kind of new. They're trying to grow. They run a great event. I know the tournament directors are good guys. But they're kind of the new kid on the block, so they're not pulling the same numbers or support as the other ones yet.
And look,
anyway.
I'd be crazy to think we were going to come in and we just had our first one there in February. We got our second one for the season here in a couple of weeks. To think in 7 events that all of a sudden you're going to be Bassmaster, right? And we're not trying to be. That's not the goal, but I, from a sponsor standpoint, it is a little frustrating on the industry side of things, because you won't believe how many industry people reach out to me, reach out to the owners like, man, you guys sure are doing a great job.
Thumbs up, no money.
Job.
Just thumbs up.
You're like, what about now? Great job, guys. That's about it.
Crazy.
It'll change.
Somebody in the comments asked about, I'm going to throw it on the screen. They're asking, does MLF gain credit by Christie having immediate success after switching back, and he couldn't even make certain rounds in the MLF? And we don't have to dive into MLF versus Bass and that kind of thing. But do you ever think, Ryan, Armando, Luke, that kayak fishing, because right now all of our events are opens. People don't switch back and forth. They can just fish whatever the heck they want to. There's no, you don't have to prepay entry fees for the year or anything like that. You just kind of pick and choose. That we'll ever get to the point where we have people that are just committed to a series or 2 prepaid entry fees, to where we get to that level of commitment. I won't say it'll be the same financial, payouts and entry fees and things, but that level of commitment to a certain trail. Or should it just stay opens forever? You're on mute, Mondo.
I've been with my allergies, so I muted myself there doing my intro. But I think it's about 3 years away before we get like a pro series. And I'm not talking about what KBF is doing. I think it organically is going to
an actual pro series.
That.
But anyway, yeah.
When you look at what Hobie BOS is doing with that selling out, and I recorded an episode with Brian Schiller about it. Great thing about this events being sold out, it's gonna, in my opinion, it can organically morph into a pro series where you have to qualify to get there. I think it could go. I don't think it should be divided where you only fish the KBF, because that's not good for the sport. Not at the point that we are right now. Maybe when it gets a lot bigger, but right now, the beautiful thing about it, like you mentioned, Jeff, it's like you can go fish any one of those tournaments. But I think eventually, and I mean, it's hard to put an estimate on it and who's going to do it first, or if it's going to be somebody else that we never heard of, and all of a sudden bring a pro circuit tour to kayak fishing. I really don't know the answer, but I think it could be like 3 years away if it's done right. And I think Hobie BOS could be that organization that brings it.
They're definitely the front runner. I mean, obviously, like the amount of growth we've seen in the last 3 years has been exponential to what we saw the decade before. Like, there's not an argument on that. I mean, as far as the quality of the tournaments they've ran, but also the exposure and the media coverage, which is what we need the most. Like, it's not something, about who can run the biggest tournament or whatever, but it's who can get anglers' names out there made into more of a household term, that brand recognition. That's what's going to bring in the money and allow more people to get out and travel around and do this, maybe not full time, but as a nice supplemental income anyway.
Yeah, at least not take out second mortgages to keep doing it, or live out of your truck or whatever.
You should probably be able to like go into Chili's and eat dinner every now and then. Like,
Hey,
that'd be
we've
cool.
got Dark Waters in the comments, Ryan. He said, "Who cares about a pro series? The sport's growing because we have kept it fun." And there's some truth to that, but
Yeah.
a lot of us, either like to donate money and compete on the highest level we can, and that's just what we like to do. We like to get out there and roll the dice and try to not really grow our pocketbooks, but just keep growing our competitive spirit, I guess would be the right word. Try to get out there and compete against the best of the best for the biggest purses on the best lakes.
I like
do
it,
what
and
we can.
honestly, I hope it stays open. Like, even if there is a Pro Series, Invitational, whatever, I hope they can still go fish the other stuff too, because I think it's nice when you see these big names go out and mop the floor with a field of people just to remind them of why they're the big names.
Yes. Listen, people complain about guys like Brandon Polnick fishing the opens, and I'm like, bring it on. I love it. And then he wins a lot of them. Like, hey,
You're like, exactly. That's what I thought.
There's got to be a look. There was a comment came in about Jason Christie there. Look, when the dude decided, hey, I'm going to go back to bass, he just went and fished all the damn opens and just requalified. Like, it's easy. No big deal.
Just flipped a switch.
People have been in those. Hackney did the same thing. Dude, people have been in those opens for years. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go back and do that. And he just does it. Like, there's a significant difference. So, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, every tournament should be open.
I mean, that's basically what Ike did last year, right? Is he rolled the dice on getting back into the elites? He's like, I'll just fish the opens.
I'll just fish these opens against 230 boats every time.
Yeah,
While we're all complaining, the field's too big, the lakes are too tough.
If you listen to Randy Blockett, Take It or Leave It, with some of his oddball videos that he puts up.
Yeah.
But he will tell you that those Bassmaster Opens, the fields, it's more competitive than anything you will fish because of how crowded it is, and there's so much talent out there. So to flip a switch like that, it's amazing.
That's everybody shooting their shot. The only thing that you could find, in my opinion, that's more competitive to that is if you go to one of these local hammer lakes and fish their CBA. If you want to figure out where you're at on Chickamauga, show up to that one and let Kevin Drake kick your teeth down your throat, and you'll understand how little you know about that lake.
Same thing with Alabama Bass Trail. I say that all the time. I'm like, listen, I fish the opens, I fish the FLW tour. I'm like, give me all of that versus an ABT any day of the week. Day of the week. Like, dude, those guys, like,
and they're serious about it. Like, I mean, that's the only thing they got going on. They're like, oh yeah, they're practicing 7 days a week for that bad boy.
They'll crush you. Yes.
So yeah, that's some of the people in the comments are just saying keep it open, and maybe we don't even need a legit pro series on the kayak world where you have to qualify. Just keep it open.
I want to see a pro. I want to see, and here's what I was talking about with the Z-Man guys. I think if you take and we have a pro series, right? You make a TV show out of it. You make a little reality show out of it, and you cover, pick a different 3 or 4 each week or whatever, and cover their entire kind of story of getting to the lake, breaking it down, shit going wrong, everything falling apart. Like, cover that stuff and show people what it's really like on the road. Like, everybody sees the holding up the trophy and the big check or whatever. Show them the whole deal. Show them the flat tire. Show them the gate locked at 5 a.m. Like, show them what really happens in these tournaments. How
Gators
much is
growling
really
at
going to
you.
happen to Gators growling at you. It don't matter, man. Breaking your
2023,
torpedo
Ryan.
prop on a gator head. It's coming.
KBN House 2023.
Okay.
We'll document it everywhere we go. How about that?
Pull our nickels, Jeff. We're gonna do this.
I don't understand the point of people that, and I respect their opinion, but of not having or not in favor of having a pro series. Here's the thing: if you don't want to take part of it, you don't have to take part of it. You can still fish the KBN, or the Hobie BOS, and the other ones. The main thing about it, if the sports grows, investors come in, and then new kayak products come in, and things are gonna, developers come in, the products that are, like the live scope. Maybe you're gonna have a bunch of other companies saying, well, now I'm gonna have something more affordable to, be able to install your live scope or your forward facing sonar on your kayak, versus us trying to figure out some way to, adopt this technology from the basketball world to the kayaks. So as far as the sports growing, it's better for you if you're a fan of the sport, even if you don't want to fish a pro series, because things, you get more company, you get more money rolling into the products. That's my opinion.
Yeah, we look at everything through a tournament lens. I do anyway. But rec fishing is where most of the dollars probably come from. But I would still say that tournament fishing on all levels drives the innovation side of it. Period.
For sure.
Kayaks, bass boats, whatever. So we all play a role in making this thing go down the road.
Because if you see the tournament guys doing well with X product or whatever, then all the rec guys want to go buy it because they think, that's going to, like, fish monkey gloves. Like, they think they need them because that's going to make them catch more fish. I don't know why that's what popped into my head. But, like, people are like, I need gloves.
Because that Tim Horton says,
in my mind.
This is Fish Monkey 5.
In my mind, I need to go get some freaking fish monkey gloves. That's what I'm missing. That's what I'm missing is that grip. Now we know. Now we know.
I don't know why they.
I want to. This is what I want to close the show out with, Jeff. The picture I sent you earlier. I want to put this picture up. I want to get a blind react of these guys, and I want to know the honest opinion of how disruptors like this really influence the whole industry. Because in my mind, this is as good as gold.
Oh boy.
Sink
And
it
we've
in,
had
boy.
him
Let
on
it
the
in.
show. We've had him on the show, and he's probably
You can take
one
it
of
down now. You can take it down now.
he's probably one of the funniest. I mean, just raw, off the cuff, funniest people that we've ever interviewed or I've actually ever talked to in my life. To be honest with you, how do you feel like that affects the industry right now?
I love it. I told Matt this. We talked last week at the Open, man. Like, you see the things he's doing with the ugly stick, the interviews on the street thing. Like, that's what the industry needs, man. It's too stuffy. It's always, you know what I mean? Like, we opened the show talking about this. It's super PC, and I love, like, huge shout out to Pure Fishing for being like, hey, Matt, here's a budget. Here's a camera crew. Go to downtown Nashville and be yourself. It's beautiful. Like, we need more of that in the sport, man. Now, I think it's very good. Now, I will say I have had conversations with people who are like, hey, man, we've spent the last 30 years trying to convince people outside of our world that we're not a bunch of redneck idiots. And then Matt, those sleeveless, smashing beers, mullet, redneck idiot, to the classic. But I love it, man. I think Matt we've got a lot of, whether it's in music, whether it's in fishing, whatever, a lot of people play a character, right? Matt's just Matt. And I love that. Matt knows who he is, and he's always going to be that, and it's awesome.
Amen. Being authentic. Be who you are. I love it.
They say sex sells, so I'm sure somebody out there finds that sexy. So
you can't say that with that accent, Armando. I've already warned you. God. You can't do it, buddy. I'm
Unbelievable.
It's that Western Sun vodka kicking in my leopard.
My man.
Hey, that stuff will get you, man. You gotta keep two eyes on that.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story, Luke. When we first picked Western Sun up as a sponsor, Ryan decided to try to polish up not just a regular size bottle, but it was like a gallon bottle, and he just kept on with it the whole night. And we talked about that for a couple days after about how horrible a mistake that was.
No, it's silly. Well, the problem was I had those little pre-mixed cans, right? Well, you couldn't taste anything in them, so I was pouring vodka out of the bottle into the mixed drink, and like the Western Sun rep that hooked us up on this whole thing was like, "Hey, man, you probably ought to let him know. Like, it comes loaded. Like, you don't need to add anything else to it." I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Hey, Jeff, we don't need anybody to die of alcohol poisoning.
No. Yeah, we don't. We're not covered in the contract with the.
I promise that would be our most viewed episode. Now, if you're looking for a clip to get shared, that would be it. Finally got him, boys. I told y'all.
Yeah, Josh said it ruined his golf game. Did it to us all. But anyway, anything else you guys want to share with us before we get out of here tonight? We appreciate you taking the time. We've been, going over a little bit of over an hour. I know both busy men, Ryan down there at the beach, so we don't want to keep you too long. Anything you want to share that you got coming up, Luke?
No, man. Just if y'all don't listen to LBL, check it out every Monday. And MPFL, I think we're at Lake Hartwell in 2 weeks. Try to watch that broadcast with me and the big cat, Skinny Cat, Thick Cat, whatever you want to call him now. Fat Cat Newton in studio with me. We got James Watson out on the water. And show us some love. MPFL.com.
Got it.
Smack Skinny Cat on the ass for me. Tell him I said
I
hey.
will. As soon as I can.
Armando, any more smooth talk you want to drop on us before you get out of here, man?
Please.
Just a shout out to the Paddle and Fin crew, and their shows. Brian Schiller with the OG show, Bass Fishing Thumbs from California. Shane Lamont, I think that's Ryan's favorite show. Who else? Brad Hicks and Matt Souders. They have a show called The Final Cast, and that's product reviews. We got Chris Livska, which does the mindset, which focuses on getting your mind right for tournaments, which I think it's interesting. At first I was like, what is this show? But I mean, it's pretty cool show. He gets some of the top anglers to talk about what was their mindset when they won the tournament. So I think that's a great show. Brad Hurlebach with the hunting episodes. What else? Jimmy and Dan with the Reel Down, which is tournament reviews. And what else am I missing? And Dustin Dudu with the Saltwater series,
What?
Chasing the Tide.
What'd you say?
My new favorite person.
Dustin Dudu, Nichols.
That sounds like a
Oh,
superhero
okay.
from bad comic books.
All right, okay. Dustin,
Captain
I
Underpants.
know
Yeah,
Dustin
there you
Nichols.
go.
I know Dustin Nichols. You got me with his new last name though. I'm on board with that.
Kate Field was in the comments. She said Lovecraft Armando. I didn't know what that meant. I thought you had gotten to her with the smooth talking, but then she fixed it. So never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
Good
Never
He's
mind.
my crush.
Yeah.
Oh, Lovecraft out
Catherine
here.
Field is my crush.
Yeah.
That's why we
All right.
brought him on.
Unbelievable show, Ryan. Want to close us out with anything, man?
10 out of 10. Luke, thanks for coming on. Armando, again, one of the best interviews I've ever been a part of. Thank you, sir, for your entertainment and your accent.
Thank you.
Keep it going.
All right, everybody. And I'll get on the page and figure out who won the glasses and post them up. Appreciate y'all.
Y'all take it easy.
I think